So here we are, building community capacity around veterans. This is slide 2, session 2 of our workshop. And in the next slide, we will be sharing an agenda. So today we're going to be reviewing and discussing session 1 homework, which hopefully you all had a chance to consider or review. And we're going to be also spending a lot of time connecting those community assets and that Crystal walked us through, and then some data that Sarah had walked us through. So connecting those to partnerships and SMART goals. And then we're going to be talking about homework for session 3. So we have a few learning objectives for today. So we're hoping that you're going to be able to identify partners to engage in fostering mutually beneficial partnerships as you do your work with veterans in your communities. And we're going to be exploring a planning tool that helps you craft a vision for community efforts and compares that vision to current conditions, and then identifies the actions needed to accomplish your vision. So I'm going to now turn it over to Sarah, who is going to start us off with the homework review.
Thanks, Bridget, and good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to see folks joining us again this morning. So those of y'all who did your homework, that's great. I hope it was helpful. And I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about some of those final questions and what your responses were. And it looks like a number of you were able to, find the age breakdowns for veterans in your community, gender breakdowns, numbers of veterans, and we did have one of you point out that the data is not current to right now, and that's absolutely true. And everything is, particularly in terms of unemployment, everything's flipped. So, and it takes a while for that those large data sets to catch up with where we are in real time. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how what you learned informs your work. So I'm just going to review for a couple minutes some of the things that you all told us. And if you have more things to share, or you didn't have a chance to do the homework and just want to put it in the chat, that's great. So one of the questions was how the demographics that you discovered, how they inform the work that you do or hope to do in your community. And some of the things that people said were it helps identify impact areas. It helps people get a sense to focus on the types of cases that they had planned on doing and maybe needing to change the direction of the work. It validates the work that you are doing. A couple of people talked about homelessness in the veteran population and either surprises or even not surprises that there were so many homeless veterans in their communities. And also things that surprise folks, again, were some of the homelessness. Some of you have probably spent a lot of time in this data and weren't super surprised by anything that you discovered. At least one of you lives in a community or works in a community that has a 50-50 male to female ratio of veterans, which is somewhat unusual. The female veteran population is increasing, but there aren't a ton of areas where it's 50-50. Another one of you noted that in your state, the majority of veterans are over 65. Interest. Did you guys lose me?
Sarah, we lost you. The last I heard you say was something about the veterans predominantly being age 65 and over.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I had to turn my camera off. So in terms of other things that interested you that you learned or surprised you about your community, for male to female ratios. At least one of you lives in an area that has a 50-50 male to female ratio, and we are seeing, of course, increased numbers of female veterans, but there are not a whole lot of communities, I don't think, where it's 50-50. So that is interesting and surprising. Other veteran data that you need, data on veteran families. What are the jobs that veterans are seeking now? Education level of veterans, veteran data broken down by towns. Some information around veterans and their disabilities and status with the VA. That, I think, is probably not data that we're going to be able to find. And types of retirement statuses, medical versus progression. So hopefully you all were able to learn a little bit, glean some more information, and over the next week or so, I'm going to take a look at what other veteran data you need, and if I can find it, I will share it with you. And I'm going to pass, I'm going to stick up a poll as we move on to our next section of the presentation discussion this morning, where, and hand it off to Crystal.
Thanks, Sarah. Good morning, all. So I'm gonna go back, and this poll will be a bit of a review from last week. And we just wanted to know, as we talked about the various resources, or we call them capitals or assets in your community, we wanted you to share your thoughts around, what was easier to identify, or any areas where you might have had gaps. So for which type of capital or asset or resource in your community did you notice any gaps or experience some difficulty in identifying a resource? And you can choose all that apply, it's not a one. We'll give an opportunity for folks to reply, and then we'll share the results.
I am not seeing the poll yet.
I'm seeing, are others seeing it? Yeah, I see numbers coming in. Okay. So it's showing that 66% of folks on the line have voted. So we can go ahead and end the poll here. And just note that it looked like we were looking for gaps. One of the biggest gaps or areas where there was some difficulty identifying resources was in the financial arena. And that, let's scroll down a little. Yeah, some said no gaps. You could list multiple of each type, but financial and then followed by cultural. So that helps us to think about where we might spend a little bit of time sharing thoughts and ideas around resources, or maybe new or different ways we might tap into some existing resources as well. So thank you for that. So today we're going to spend some time talking about, as we build on those resources, talking about partnerships, programs, and start thinking about some goals. So if you watched the video, you saw a little bit about this, but I'm going to ask you to respond to this question in the chat maybe. Think about some organizations to which you currently belong, and what I'd like for you to post in the chat is, why have you stayed involved with those organizations? Sarah says she enjoys the people, believes in the mission. Donna says a shared vision. And those are often some reasons why people stay involved with an organization. feeling like you can accomplish things, seeing things that are, moving towards a goal and getting there. The people, ability to have your voice heard and share in the mission. The connections, the passion, the connections. David says an acknowledgement that no person knows it all or can do it all. Absolutely. So next, you want to ask, what are some organizations to which you were once a member, but you're no longer involved? And then if you would post in the chat, why did you leave, or why are you no longer involved with those organizations? Didn't accomplish anything, didn't see any results. Mission became unclear. The distance, yeah, some logistics sometimes. Yeah. Feeling disconnected. Mission became unclear. Aged out in terms of willingness to expand the mission. Interesting how similar the responses are for why we've left. Sometimes there's a logistical reason, but oftentimes it has something to do with the mission or feeling connected or feeling like you've been able to see some progress toward accomplishing goals. So the question here, and we won't spend a lot of time here, that's why we did the short video snippet, is be attentive to these things when you're thinking about partners or the partners that you're currently working with or engaging with, or even your potential new partners. Think about yourself. What made you stay engaged and involved, and how can you ensure that the reasons that you've stayed involved with organizations are things that you implement with your partners and in your partnerships? And, to the contrary, to avoid those things that have, had people fall away. And they seem easy and common sense, but when we get really busy, it's easy to stray away from the mission sometimes, or sometimes it's easier to lose some of the connections that also seem to be really important for engaging people. Even with acknowledging different voices, sometimes it seems more expedient to just go quickly through an agenda, check the box, and move on. But that doesn't necessarily pull on people's strengths and allow time for connections, which we know are so important for keeping people involved. So just some background thought as you think about your current partners and any new potential partnerships. And so now let's think through a little more specifically, and I'm so proud of those of you that did the homework. I'm so excited you did that on the Qualtrics survey, so we have a good set of examples to share from. We're going to spend a little bit of time thinking through some examples, and we'll go into breakout rooms in just a moment in smaller groups so that we can continue to share ideas and build on what we have for our own communities by listening to examples from others. I just want to spend a little bit of time talking through each of these to be sure that we know, what it is we want to share. So let's talk about financial capital. So that was the first one that came up for you when you said, you're not sure. 58% of you said you had trouble identifying some of these resources in your community. So spend a good bit of time in your breakout rooms sharing if you had some thoughts and ideas or ways that you could connect to bring those resources to your community. Spend a little bit of time talking about those. Those are all of the monetary, financial resources, grants, banks, foundations, other opportunities that could be brought to your community. You want to think about the political capital. So who are the decision makers? What are the opportunities to help have a voice in policies, rules, regulations, those decision makers? So when you're talking about this, you're thinking about who are the partners. So you've identified some assets. Who are partners that can help really utilize these assets or expand upon assets in this arena? The built. So thinking about, who's available with infrastructure, with building space, with maybe physical space for some opportunities. The social capital arena. So where are the connections? Who are the people? Who are the organizations that make things happen in the community? Are you connected with them? Are they engaged? Whether they have something that exists that is explicit to our veterans or not, think more broadly. Is there an opportunity to connect with those groups, people, or organizations that get things going, that help to connect within the community, but also help branch outside of the community to other connections? Human capital. So what are the resources that exist in the community for training, workforce development, other opportunities, someone who can help teach, writing a business plan, if that's, an important component of what you want to do. Who has that? Who has those opportunities? Who are those potential partners that you could link up with? Again, thinking not only those that currently serve veterans, although with the Sea of Goodwill, we found out there's tons of things out there that maybe aren't connected, but even within your community, is there someone who's doing this and doing it well that there may be an opportunity to expand upon what's available? What's the natural capital? What are the resources that are available to build upon? It's interesting to hear, we heard in office hours this week, and we just heard earlier today about some of the programs linking some of the veterans with some of the horse programs, and it seems like that might be a way to also connect to some of the natural resources that are available in the community, the land, the space, some of those pieces that are available. What else could be utilized to help your project or for you to accomplish your goals in a new and different way? And then cultural capital. So this was the next most referenced thing that was a gap. So thinking about cultural capital and cultural resources, what are the things that point to the culture of a place? So there may be some things that are specific to the place. There's historical components, in addition to the art, the people. What is it about the place? Most places, particularly you're working in rural communities, there's something unique to the place, and how do you capture that? What are those gems in the community, and how might you link that and build upon that to support your project related to veterans? So just a little food for thought as you move into breakout sessions. So if you already had an identified list of potential partners, I hope that you have those thoughts and ideas with you and that you'll be willing to share. So we're going to spend about, we'll say, 6 minutes in breakouts. And so Rachel is going to push the breakout button and you will arrive in your breakout room. Like last week, and if you weren't on, I'll repeat these instructions. If there would be one of you so kind as to either post in the chat when you come back, you have to do it when you come back, post in the chat, or write down and be willing to share out some of the thoughts and ideas and examples from your breakout room. That would be greatly appreciated. So Rachel, if you're ready, we're ready for breakout rooms.
I'm just going to I was going to make a quick suggestion that one of you just post the question briefly into chat. That way everybody can still see it when they go in their breakouts, if you do that before we hit the go button. Whoever's got a sec.
I can post it in the chat. I was going to type it in chat anyway.
All righty. So I'll wait till you get that in, and then I will hit the go button. You should go automatically. If you hit a snag, you can pop out. Otherwise, you'll have about 6 minutes.
So spend a little bit of time in your rooms, hopefully sharing some thoughts and ideas. And we just want to go through and spend a little bit of time sharing out, what you've identified, a couple of examples, and hopefully that sparks some other thoughts and ideas for people. Also, there have been some good examples shared around how you take one resource that exists and where you have a partnership and realize there are other connections to other resources and capital. So I just want to open the floor and share the space for identifying some of the capital. So let's start with financial. Is there someone who would, you can open your mic or post in the chat examples of your financial partners or resources.
I'll go ahead and speak for the wonderful conversation and folks that I had in my group. And please, if I miss anything, chime in verbally or in the chat. But we talked a lot about the benefit of looking for grants and other financial resources in unconventional places, and that there's just, you know, so much opportunity out there, and but you have to enable the setting, I think is the phrase that Talter used, meaning that, you know, in order to kind of make these connections and relationships, you have to kind of think outside of the box and think outside of the way your organization might normally do this kind of work with, you know, searching for grants and creating partners. And you can find some amazing new partners and new resources, like with a minor league baseball team, and with theater, and with LGBTQ organizations, and all sorts of ag organizations, which are some of the things that the folks in my group shared. So that was a really great conversation. Thanks so much for sharing all of that.
Thanks. Another room want to share?
Well, one thing we want to do for farmers is for the veterans or horticulture students is getting access to land. Since we're working on a watershed impact, then the feds came with money to assist with conservation implementation by doing a buyout cost share. So we were able to buy some land in the ag sector, rural land, for $2,300 an acre. The government will pay fixed $600 an acre, and we paid the difference, but we still have private ownership. And a project I'm on now, we bought this land in town in a new development. They have to do mitigation basins to reduce the runoff to the lake. So we bought this land for $10,000 an acre in town. So they do their buyout, we pay the remainder fee, so the seller's not short on value, and then we still own it and we can do our farming. So we have 10 acres in town.
Wow.
You can do this on half-acre plots. What they want to do is address this urban and rural to stop the flash events going into the cities. And since this is a Army Corps of Engineers program, it covers the Mississippi River Basin Initiative, which is all the way to the Gulf Coast.
Great. Thank you.
Now you have ownership and you build equity.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much.
We had kind of an ag theme in our group, talking about the working with the Army Corps of Engineers initially, and then other partnerships have been leveraged off that. Working with USDA funding hoop houses in a couple of different areas, and targeting veterans as good partners in different veteran organizations. And unfortunately, Nell got cut off when we popped over, but he was talking about seeing a real need for veteran services for folks from the National Guard, and looking for partners to help meet those needs.
Thank you. What about
I'll go ahead.
Oh, go ahead and finish up. Yeah,
Okay.
please.
And just go ahead. One was that Anne brought up, and it kind of goes with both social and political, and that is getting younger veterans involved with organizations like VFW, American Legion, because they have a strong voice, and for individuals, you know, to be a part of a bigger organization, to have a stronger voice out there, and so to encourage membership into these larger organizations. And then the other one we talked about was Build, And that one was kind of what we were looking for, and more so around the need for housing, affordable housing, or the lack of housing in an areas for veterans to locate there or live there. So.
Thank you. Other examples of, since we just kind of connected political and built, of partners within the built arena or in the political arena?
So here we do veterans outreach events. The Department of Veterans Services has is very active here in New Mexico. And what we do is we used to in the olden days, like 3 months ago, host quarterly outreach events where somebody from voter registration would come, our county commissioner might be there. And so if veterans came, not only could they talk to somebody who's a state representative, then they could also talk to the local politician. We have a collaborative where our village mayor sits on the collaborative. So if we haven't, because we just started this about 6 months ago, have open meetings, then people could have the mayor's ear right away. But so we're trying to involve local government as much as possible, because that's how things get done.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Crystal, we're lucky here at Fort Bragg, I guess, or in the area. We actually have County Veterans Council that is a quasi-political. They meet separately, but they also meet, have a member who is a permanent invitee to the City Council. And then on the Chamber of Commerce side, we have Military Advisory Council. Some of those members are in both. We have 2 or 3 standing committees, one of which is Heroes Homecoming. We do a week-long Veterans Day program. It starts on the Sunday prior to Veterans Day and then goes through the local parade. And many of those folks are interchanged on the committees as well as the Advisory Council and the Veterans Council. And then some are VA employees. Some are active duty as a representative from the base, even if it's just MWR. And then they have a Fayetteville military coordinator on the staff at the City of Fayetteville government.
Great. A lot of connections. Thank you. How about in the social arena? What are some other specific, some we've heard already, but what are some other specific partners that are important to have for your social arena, making things happen?
Yes, I'll share with you a little bit, Crystal. We keep talking about the same thing, but it's been a huge asset to me. So,
but everyone hasn't had the benefit of hearing it yet, Mike. So I was hoping you would share.
I'll definitely share. So I was invited to actually just a small social grant event put on by the Elks Club for veterans. And basically from that has provided me a membership to that group, access to the grants that they provide for rehousing veterans, which offer $300 per person that we rehouse to go towards food, hygiene products, anything they need to get their apartments set up. That has also turned into other grant funding for us locally, where we can actually create that cultural side of things and provide events that our community has been lacking. So I guess that one networking event turned in from social to some political. There are the mayors on that council as well. And then to include creating culture that we probably don't have or we've been lacking. So
yeah,
that one program has just helped us in my 16 county region be able to provide better for our veterans.
Thanks, Mike. Mike, will you share a couple of things that you've done, 1 or 2 in the cultural arena? And you shared some in the office hours.
Yeah, so out of that cultural event, there are spotlight grants. One was provided even through donations, actually just to make it bigger and better. Walmart donated meals for this event, but we were able to basically buy hygiene products, canned goods, anything that's non-perishable, so they could come basically hang out with people that have helped them along their path to get, in my world, I guess we work on getting them jobs and taking care of them that way. So they could actually come and eat, sit down with the people, meet the people that might be able to help with the housing, veterans issues, benefits, disability, anything like that. And then they also get to go home with gloves, hats, mittens, socks, shampoo, basically anything that they would need. So that was all provided through the Arts Club grant, the Spotlight grant. And we have access to money like that, I think 2 or 3 times a year to be able to provide events just through that one organization.
Yeah, so the thought of thinking about your current partners is really important, because you may be connecting in one way, and that's what you've been doing, but to think broader, there may be some other avenues or ways that you could be connecting and working with your existing partners. Certainly there's also likely some opportunity for new partners, but there's ways that you might be connecting with existing partners, but in a different way or in an additional way. How about in the human capital arena? Some of the training, skill building, partners there, examples that you'd share?
Yeah, I'll go back to last week's comment, the NVI through the Bob Woodruff Foundation, and they're getting ready to present a big paper on some research they've been doing. They just provide so much support. Psych Armor is their big thing. There's probably 30 courses loaded. I sat in on one last week on current veteran statuses and research. That's where I pulled some of my statistics for. They're on the homework, but I tried to combine that with what we know here in North Carolina. So I can't say enough about Psych Armor and NVA. And then the other one's America's Warrior Partnership out of Georgia.
Thank you. How about others, whether they're larger or something specific to your own community?
We, going back to the Department of Veteran Services outreach, you know, in addition to getting benefits and things like that, people come in just for community. And then in the course of a community, somebody will say, well, I'm trying to get a job and I don't know how to use USA Jobs, which is so hard. But and I say, well, the VA is hiring vets. Let me show you some tricks about how to build your resume so that, people can, get into the federal system. It's hard. So by having people who are trained in a bunch of stuff, when a veteran comes in and has a need, we can pivot and just show them how to do something or where to go, keeping a Rolodex of numbers so that somebody who says, well, I'm sleeping in my car. Oh, here, let me call Joe. He can help you find, housing. Okay. So anybody in your organization should be cross-trained or at least have a handy Rolodex to go to.
Okay. Great. Thank you all so much. So I hope these spark other thoughts and ideas for you. Some might be resources that you can specifically tap into because they exist for your communities as well, broader. And others, there may not be the exact same, but it might spark or elicit another thought or idea. So I do see some good activity in the chat box too. So I hope you are able to be attentive to those as well. So think about who your partners, your resources, and who your partners might be. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time focused on identifying what you want to do, what your goal is or goals are, and then how you might craft those to be very specific. Remember, we talked about why you left organizations, and oftentimes it was, you posted a move away from the mission. Identifying some very specific and concrete goals and ways to measure them towards success can help to keep groups on track. And so I know there's wordsmithing in your world. You might say this is not a goal, this is an objective, this isn't, you know, an objective, it's a strategy. I'm going to ask you to just, you know, just go with us on it. You can use whatever language you want, just get the concept and use the terminology that makes sense in your world or your organization. But we'll say goals will focus on the results that you hope to reach, right? Those are things that we know. And we're going to talk about making them smart. And many of you have seen this before, so kind of wave at the camera if you've seen this smart, you know, right? So likely this is a quick review for you. So we're going to talk about how we make these goals smart as a reminder, and we'll spend a little bit of time working on that for ourselves, right? So we want them to be specific. We need to know that they're specific, right? So do you have, right? Is it specific, right? Do you have something that you know you're going to get to? Is it measurable? Do you have a way to know if you've reached success, if you've accomplished the goal or not? Right? Is it attainable? Is it something that you can get to? We can make this happen, right? Is it relevant? Does it matter to your community? Is it going to solve an issue that your community is hoping to get solved, right? And then is there some timing around it? Does it matter when it gets done? Is it time bound, right? Are those realistic? So we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about something that might be a goal for you or for your community. So as you start thinking about a project that you have, that you want to develop, you want to expand upon, whatever that might be, think about your goal. Do you know what you want to achieve? Where are you going to focus those efforts? Is it going to be specifically, you know, narrowed into focus? Then how are you going to measure it? Is it measurable? How do you know that you've accomplished it? How do you know when you've arrived? Is it attainable? So is it realistic? So we spent some time thinking through the resources that exist in the community and then the specific partners related to those resources. So do you have the resources that you need to reach that goal? And then are there barriers? And are there barriers that can be overcome, or are there barriers that really might hinder progress toward that goal? Is it relevant? So maybe you can be specific and you can get it done, but does your community really care about this? Is this going to bring a solid benefit to your community? And then when? What's the timing? Can you get a target date for when the goal should be accomplished, right? So that's SMART. That's what we think about as SMART. So if we put this up as a goal, you know, what do you want to do? Well, we want to help our community become more veteran friendly. Is this SMART? What do you think? Is this SMART? Thumbs up, thumbs down. SMART? Yeah. Not really. Right? It's not specific at all. So what if we rewrote it and said, okay, we want to help our veteran-owned businesses thrive this year? Is this better?
Better.
Yeah, a little bit better, right? What if we said, instead, we want to increase veteran entrepreneurship from 10% to 30% in the town within 24 months? How's this one? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Yeah? Tells us where we're going. It gives us, you know, a sense of what we want to do. It's specific. It gives a time-bound frame. So it starts to get us a little closer, right?
But it doesn't tell how yet.
Right, because this is the goal. The how is probably going to be your objectives, or if you call it your strategies. So this is the result. So your goal is the result. That's the result that you want. And then you're absolutely right. Then you've got to spend time identifying the how. And those are going to be your objectives or your strategies or your action items. The how are you going to get there? But what are you going to do? What's the result that you're hoping for? Is what should be there. All right, so you can call out the specific components in this as opposed to the first that said just help our veteran-owned businesses thrive this year. So we're going to spend a little bit of time working on a goal that someone may have to work on. So if you have a goal and you'd like some support in helping to work on that in your breakout room, then raise your hand when you get to your breakout, because that's where we're going to go and spend not a long time, maybe about 4 minutes or so in a breakout room, just working on a draft goal and helping to frame it and write it as a SMART goal. So get something in mind, and as usual, when we come back to the main room, we'll share out a couple of examples. Everybody have a thought in mind? All right. So Rachel, I think we are ready to go to our breakout. Anyone get something really useful or helpful in their breakout session that they'd like to share?
Well, we talked about active duty personnel, and rather than waiting until they've ETS'd, if you can provide space for them to interact with a variety of occupational skills, they can look at that as where they can enhance their own skills and take the civilian job, or they may find something that's unrelated but they have interest in. They can develop those skills before they separate and become an entrepreneur. So we're working, we bought this 10 acres to start a working farm, and now we built a on-site learning center. If you're a farmer, you're the welder, the plumber, the electrician, you're the machine service, you're ag, you're hazmat. So they can cover a lot of varieties of skills. If you go to the shop in town to get a part in your tractor welded, it's $100 an hour. That's more than a lawyer charges.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what's your input? You have no input cost because you're also charging for materials. So you've got to be able to do this stuff yourself, but on site in the farm, you can do this as a value-added skill too. Just improve those skills with the other needed farm skills, and you can do this as a value-added system right on your farm.
How did you get funding for the Learning Center part of your organization? Who did you go to?
Well, I went to the Leopold Center, and they kept saying, well, put together an idea and put together a group and get grants and get grants. I was also doing school gardens, and then we had 25 gardens, schools I started gardens on. They competed for grants, and they got the money June 1st. This is Iowa. And 5 schools got money the 1st of June to start gardens. So I talked to my wife into letting us sell our brand new house. We just retired, and we sold a year later. And then I bought this impaired watershed site, and you can buy them cheap. And now that's a working farm. So, you know, it's the frustrating part is the financial capital.
Yes.
But whether you look in town or you look up the watershed of these farms, when you buy that ground, and you can buy it on a margin, often when you see those impaired watershed sites, there's water running off the field, there's water running through town. You can stop that water and hold the natural resources like the silt and sediments and phosphates and capture that water and use it to enhance your productive lands. Now you've got land worth 4 or 5 times what you paid for. There's your equity, and you own it. Now you can put up your house and put up your barn.
Would you post some information in the chat that we can follow up? That would be fantastic.
You know what? I had a head injury. I was never hurt in the Army. I had a broadside car accident. So I had trouble with face recognition. So I'll have my wife help me with that, or I'll bring somebody in.
Be great. Or you can, yes, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
I'm good boots on the ground. I can work all day.
I believe it.
And there's one thing I'd like to add on what the gentleman was saying is, you know, getting skill sets for transitioning service members and to increase the ones they know. DoD has a program, I'll put it in the chat. It's called the DoD Skill Bridge Program. If you're not aware of that, that allows active duty personnel who are within a year of their expiration or retirement. And if a company has job training, to your point, if the in-town welding shop is willing to train or further train welders, then they can make an agreement with that person's commander, and they will allow them to be working in that particular skill locally, and you don't pay them anything. The government is still paying them. They're still on active duty. So I'll put that website on the chat box, and you can go in there and look at it. And it's a great program. I will tell you that the Army is probably the biggest proponent of this. They have Soldier for Life, and they really push that program. So I'll put that website out there for you.
Great.
Bill, and I'll put a plug in for the program. We have that here, and the welding, but the neat piece about it is it identifies within your local area what's the critical skill that's needed. Like here, we have a shortage of plumbers. So their salaries are competitive, both because of the national push, because a lot of veterans were getting out and getting jobs in plumbing, but they were really just running pipe and getting paid basically minimum wage. That's transitioned in the last year, and now they're stepping in and doing more of what they are getting credit for in their active duty service, as well as that skill set they learn.
Great. Thanks all for sharing such great resources. So in today's session, we revisited, our resources that are available to us for our work, our partnerships, what those opportunities might be, whether it's reaching out to a new partner or reaching out to an existing partner in a new way. So I did post in the chat and would love to hear your thoughts in the chat really quickly to one of those. A new partner that you might reach out to would be, or a new way to connect with a current partner is. So would love to hear your thoughts and ideas around that. And then we talked about who and what goals we might set and how we might write those as SMART goals. They get very specific sometimes, so I'm going to put a plug in for the office hours, and Sarah or Bridget, if you would post those in the chat, that would be great. We'll have office hours again this week and can really help narrow in on some of the specific goals that you might want to work on. Bill shared earlier with me that there are 250,000 service members leaving active duty every year. So they're coming back to communities is what that means. And so just to be reminded of that. And then when we reconvene on our final session, we will start connecting a little bit more some of the what we want to accomplish, right? So the next step, building on our goal, what's the current condition, and Sarah kind of talked us through some of the data and showed us ways to identify what the current situation is within now, some of the data, as well as what some existing resources are. And then, as came up earlier, we'll spend some time thinking about the how. How do you get there? How do you accomplish those goals? And so there is a short homework session, a bridge building video for that. But at this point, we are at our time, and I just want to thank everyone for being on. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions. We were excited to see many of you show up for office hours last week. So if you'd like to do that, we'd love to have you and welcome you. And with that, I just want to say thanks again for leaning in and for sharing your own thoughts, ideas, and resources. Thanks
Question.
all. Yep.
I'll
Question.
share.
Yeah.
Let me
How
share
do I
just
send you an email of our project?
So Crystal, do you want to put your email in the chat? And I would just share too that the bridge building video is not up yet, but just as we've done on the other two sessions, we will send you an email when everything's posted and ready, and that will just be your cue to go look at it. It's only going to be a few minutes long, so we'll look forward to having that up in a couple of days.
Yes, and I did put my email in the chat box, and I'll be looking forward to that email.